Hello everyone. I'm Andy from ThinkMo. I am currently teaching CCIE courses. From today on, I'm going to share with you CCNA, CCNP, CCIE related technologies. Today's topic is: what are the special addresses in the IP address? About IP address. We saw that in the last video. There are specific concerns. This section describes the IP address classification. And then today's video. It's a special address section about IP addresses. The special address section starts with 4 zeros. Let's call it any address. Also called unaddressed. It does not specify an address. What is it usually used for? For example, their own home to do broadband. Phones there are directly connected to Wi-Fi. Or just plug in the cable. It's ready to use. It's not on the device. Manually configure the IP address. This is mainly because of servers with DHCP. It's a special address delivery. It's similar to TP-Link. Or a 360W3. These little routers. It's like a DHCP server. So why DHCP? First of all, the local machine does not have an address. There is no way to access the internet. So you need to get the address. You need to use an unspecified address. To request the IP address as the source address. It is used as the source of sending packets. Simply put, this is when the host does not have an IP address. To send message. This is an arbitrary address and an unspecified address. And then there's the whole network broadcast address. It mainly involves flooding. Usually the operation of the switch. So under one of the switches. For example, a lot of devices are connected. When a host sends a broadcast. When you get to the switch will perform the flooding operation. Flooding is in addition to the receiving interface. Send out all the other interfaces. Of course, the switch causes flooding. There are many more. The whole network broadcast address is used for this purpose. So I'm just going to stop there. And then there's the local loopback address. 127.0.0.0. The special address is what we talked about in the last video. Within the range of class at addresses. That's 127 right there. It's taking the whole segment. Local return address to use. The purpose is mainly for detection. The network adapter connectivity is abnormal. What does connectivity mean? In short, the network card is good or bad. Judge whether the driver of the network card is good. Whether the network adapter is faulty. So how do you test that? Now we can do the demo. For example, ping 127.0.0.1. If it makes sense. Prove this part of the network card. There is no problem. This is all allocated. You can also ping any other address. It also makes sense. And at the same time, you have to expand along the way. The corresponding address. There is the whole network broadcast address. Corresponding to this is the direct broadcast address. The whole network broadcast address is for all hosts. And the use of directed broadcast addresses. It's not used the same way. Directed broadcast address. It refers to the last IP address of a network segment. Its purpose is to send data to all the hosts in this segment. I have a picture for you. Let's say a router. It is connected to PC1, PC2, PC3. The network segment where PC1 resides is 192.168.1.0.24. R1 is connected to the switch. PC2 PC3 is connected to the switch. So they are on the network segment 172.16.1.024. So in the process, What kind of situation does it involve? Let's say PC1 wants to send data. Issue PC1 and PC2 in paragraph 172. That is to say, let's say there are other computers down there. I send it to it. PC1 wants to send to 172.16.1.024. All the hosts in the segment. Then it can use the directed broadcast address in it. That's its last address. 172.16.1.255. That is to say, just put the directed broadcast address as the destination address is fine. PC1 is sending data. It's going to 172.16.1.255. When the router receives, it looks like a directed broadcast address. I would have dealt with it accordingly. It will then convert the broadcast to unicast. Send it to PC2. Also sent to PC3. This is the use of directed broadcast addresses. The directed broadcast address is. Below I have an example. Let's say 10.0.0.0. Its directed broadcast address is 10.255.255.255. Besides, there are special addresses. It's the network address, the network number. A network address is a network segment that looks like this. That's the whole 10 thing. And the directed broadcast address must be distinguished from it. There are specific uses for directed broadcast addresses. A network address is a network segment. For example, 192.168.1.0 represents this network segment. It's the first address in the beginning. And the last address represents all the hosts in this segment. A network number corresponds to the concept of a route. You'll learn that later. In short, is the first address of the segment class. And the last address cannot be used. Do not use all the time. This is a class A, B and C address. And then there's the private internet address. The private IP address can be used locally. They can distribute them independently. These are the addresses that are configured on the computer. So in the entire internet, it is mainly divided into public network and private network. The public IP address refers to the carrier. The IP address used. The private network address. It's just distributed separately for local use. So why assign private addresses? The IP address of the private network is insufficient. So it extends to the private internet address. It can be reused. Take 192.168.1.0 as an example. You will find that also used at home is section 192. Connected to the Wi-Fi at the classmate's home. The obtained IP address is also on network segment 192. Or at the company. You'll notice they're all on segment 192. This is the private network. The private network ranges in class at addresses. It is 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. Class B addresses are 172.16.0.0-172.31.255.255. The Class C address is 192.168.0.0-192.168.255.255. So that's the special address we're talking about today. So for next time, I'm going to continue this in the next video. How to save IP addresses more effectively. That's it for today. If there are any other skills you'd like to learn, feel free to leave a message or send me a private message. If you're interested in what I'm talking about, hope to like and subscribe more. Thank you. See you next time.